and it is a great pleasure for me to welcome my dear friend and a true Mediterranean champion, Vice President of the European Investment Bank, Philippe de Fontaine Vive, with whom I had the privilege and the pleasure today to sign a cooperation memorandum of understanding between the EIB and between the Secretariat of the Union for the Mediterranean. We had a bilateral meeting, including myself and the EIB delegation, and also all the deputies, secretaries general of the Secretariat, who I am also privileged to work with. And we discussed various issues regarding this agreement that we have just signed, in addition to other potential cooperation prospects in the various 6 sectors that we have at the Secretariat for the future. So it is a very important day for the Secretariat, an important day for the Union for the Mediterranean. 2 institutions that are geared to promoting dialogue and cooperation, regional integration, and more proximity between the south and the north of the Mediterranean have joined forces today. They have always been close. I have to pay a word of tribute to Philippe himself for the excellent work and devotion that he has always shown towards the Mediterranean, in particular as a bank, but also, I should say, as a person. I have had the privilege of knowing Philippe for now 4 or 5 years during my previous capacity, and I've always seen in him a devoted person who wants to do something good for the people of the Mediterranean. I think that the importance of this MOU is that it brings about a vision in concrete terms, a vision that wants to benefit the livelihood of the peoples of the Mediterranean and try to focus on the mandates of the 2 institutions and turn it and cement it into realities on the ground.
Not only Jordan, but also the whole region, and we share this vision of the Euromed with the success of the economic and social development. When we scheduled this signature of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Secretariat of the Union for the Mediterranean that you are heading and the European Investment Bank that I'm heading in this region under the so-called wording of Philippe, we didn't know that we would be with this region under such an actuality. And this shows the success of the European and Mediterranean region. Economic and social development is the key, and according to our respective mandates, we are investing ourselves to support all those projects recognized as a priority so that we improve the living of the peoples around the Mediterranean. And when you improve the livings of the people, this brings over time good news. We are in Barcelona, we are so in the Iberic Peninsula, and this has been shown in the past, either through the Spanish experience with Juan Carlos, which led to a revolution, or in Portugal, with what is called in French Révolution des œillets, and nowadays what happens in Tunisia under the so-called Révolution de Jasmin is the same process, is the process that we have embarked ourselves in supporting the priority projects. And so we have reviewed together this morning, we will continue dramatically to support high education and education more generally, transport, energy, job creation, small and medium-sized enterprises, civil protection to prevent difficulties. All of that is your agenda, and by this Memorandum of Understanding, we put ourselves in EIB at your disposal, because we have gained some experience in Europe and in this region, where, by the way, we have become the first lender. In 2010, last year, we have lent 2.6 billion euros. So this is more than expected with those 2.6 billion euros invested in the region, in all the sectors that we have just mentioned. We show our commitment to face new developments. This region has been, let's say, a little bit protected from the economic and financial crisis which was created in the United States. It has suffered less from this crisis than Europe. But nowadays, because of the linkage between the real economy, this region is at stake, and year 2012 and 11 is the year where together all those committed to this region have to gather to bring more support so that we will try as much as possible to speed up this integration that we are working on in the different sectors. This is the meaning of this memorandum of understanding that we have just signed. The two teams are really cooperating with one another, and this cooperation between ourselves is a cooperation open to others. It's not a privileged cooperation trying to exclude anyone. It's a cooperation open to others. The first and clear partner that we recognize ourselves, we say with my friend Ahmad, is the European Commission. The European Commission is with both of us. So even if Stefan Fülle is not here today with us, you could read what he has just announced last Friday to the House of Lords in the UK. He is totally committed to provide more means to support this region. This is important, and all the other partners would be welcome, I'm sure, in our enhanced partnership. For us, the Union for the Mediterranean has become, in this region, our marching order. We are not looking to define our own priorities in this region. We take the Union for the Mediterranean priorities as being our priorities. So if you look back to what happened in 2009 and 2010, the first years of activity of the Union for the Mediterranean, you could sum up by saying that more than 2/3 of the projects that we did finance are exactly matching one of the 6 priorities of the Union for the Mediterranean. And this is something in development. We discussed, for instance, this morning how much urban development could become even more important, because this also is important, I think, for us. And so this percentage could increase over time, and I think it should, but we will see how this will evolve. So in 2009, it was 80% of 1.6 billion, so it makes 1.3 billion. And in 2010, it should make something like 1.8 billion, roughly.
But let me again emphasize that this issue is developing on the basis of the work itself and the potentials that we will be developing at the Secretariat within the 6 sectors. And things will be discussed in the future with the EIB in the context of what we achieve in terms of our mandate and our work. And this is, of course, is reflected in the MOU that we signed today. For sure, this is a very important agreement that we signed today. But the agreement has always been there, regardless of whether it was put on paper or not. The EIB has been one of the most active partners in the Mediterranean process. And as we just heard, the amount of investment and support that has been given. Obviously, the whole issue or the whole logic behind the Union for the Mediterranean is try to create a partnership between the public and the private sector. And given the mandate of the Secretariat to invest in projects, concrete and real, will eventually and intuitively needs money and finance. And I believe that the EIB is one of the partners who have been active in this domain, and I'm sure that by virtue of this MOU that has been just signed today, will become more involved in the process. Obviously, we have to utilize the networks of the EIB, whether it was in the private sector, companies, banks, financiers, funding partners, in order to bring them all on board, because eventually the success for this project hinges about finding the financial resources and the proper financial resources to do the projects. And I believe that with the help of the EIB, it is a very, very important step that we took today.
It's all about, isn't it?
There are meetings in the pipeline to approve the guidelines, and I believe that this is a very important issue. We need to have a set of guidelines against which we choose a project. And I believe that we have also the possibility of trying to have a fast track approach, whereby we can pick some projects with preliminary guidelines, which I know they do exist anyway. They have been referred to in the Paris Declaration and the Marseille Declaration. And against those guidelines, which are not very specified or technical or detailed, we can pick some of the projects and move forward. So I hope that in the coming few months we will be able to agree with the representatives of the states on the project guidelines for the Union for the Mediterranean.
For the technical one, by definition, a technical agreement has to have a period of 2 years, but this is renewable, and this is what is important to say, that this is a long-standing relationship which is being created today, but we needed technically such a document, notably because you have noticed that we will assign people from EIB coming from Luxembourg, being posted here in Barcelona. So they will continue to be paid by EIB, but put at the disposal of the Secretariat. And so we needed this legal framework, and this will be renewed, I'm sure, for as long as needed.
It is specified in the MOU that it runs for a period of 3 years, but which is renewable. Sometimes you don't really give that attention to what the legal thing's about, because if you have the political willingness and commitment, as I say always, there is no point of having things on paper. And this is the real situation between the EIB and the Secretariat and the Union at large. On your other question, let me say that I have been following carefully what has been happening in Tunisia. And this is a matter that will be decided by the Tunisian people themselves. This is an internal affair. And the most important thing here is that we would like to see all political parties and relevant stakeholders in the political Tunisian framework coming together on consensus, a national one, that puts an end to violence and brings together all the parties again in a national consensus that puts Tunisia again on its always active and important role in the regional and Mediterranean framework. It is important that we have stability and security back in that country in order for the Tunisian people to not waste the achievements that have been accomplished so far in that country.